Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now is Okpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, G.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. How are you?
You are in red today.
I was
so you mean business?
Inspired by Adeswa all week. You were the lady in red last week.
Yes,
I said today I would do pepper them.
Yeah, really peppering them.
How are you?
To see you.
Nice to see you. Hope you had a good weekend.
Yes, I did.
Perfect. Good morning, Rufai. How are you?
Very well, thank you. OJ, how's your weekend?
It was excellent.
It was great.
It was good. Thank you.
Good. I'm happy about that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good morning to you, viewers. We begin what's trending in Enugu State, Nigeria. Over the weekend, some alleged members of the Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB, lost their lives following a violent clash between the group and the security agents in the state. Reports indicate that the police officers invaded a community school at around 7 a.m. where members of IPOB were having a meeting. According to the police, while they attempted to disperse the group, at least 4 people lost their lives. The violence is the latest of frequent clashes between the police and IPOB members since the group was declared a terrorist organization by the federal government in 2018. Let's take a look at this amateur video that was allegedly shot during the clash before we take some reactions.
As you can see, they are shooting our people. They are shooting our people. They are shooting our people. They have killed about 2 people. Our 2 people are down now. 2 boys are down on ground already.
Oh, this is terrible. I guess we should take some reactions before we discuss, right? One user wrote, Southeast governors and Igbo leaders must know that when the consequences of these continuous recklessness begins, none of them will go free. The police is using state resources to murder its own people. There is no justification for the killing of IPOB members. None. Another user, Unu Amara, wrote, why is the Nigerian police using live ammunition and assault rifles to disperse crowds? What is wrong with the men of the Nigerian police force? Why do security forces in Nigeria keep provoking citizens? When will this madness end? 2 IPOB members shot dead in Enugu. Well, the Vanguard is reporting differently. Apparently, the Nigerian police says 4 people were killed during that clash. I believe it was on Sunday, and 5 were arrested. While IPOB is saying it's not true, 21 people were killed and 47 people were arrested. I mean, 21 people. If IPOB is reporting 21 people, that's a lot of people. I don't understand why there's, like my other Twitter user said, live ammunition used for anything. I mean, you're dispersing a crowd. You either arrest them or you use those plastic bullets or something that will not, you know, endanger people's lives. What was the reason for this? I don't understand it. There were horrible images yesterday on social media showing these young men lying lifeless on the floor yesterday. Really heartbreaking story.
It's quite unfortunate to see scenes like this playing out. Indeed, provocation, and I would not understand why live bullets are being used.
Yes.
But we must also state it very clearly that the IPOB remains outlawed in Nigeria. Recall that the federal government of Nigeria, through the Attorney General of the Federation, Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, in 2017 had filed an application which was granted by the Federal High Court in Abuja in 2017. Now, the following year, they had attempted to reverse that order granted, prescribing them as a terrorist organization and outlawed, but it proved abortive. And so it remains outlawed. It remains banned. And so whatever gathering by this group is illegal. You know, and from the accounts of the secret police in Nigeria, which also says they lost 2 men and rescued 1 personnel from that event on Sunday in Enugu, says the group had gathered, which is illegal. The Secret Service got a hint of this gathering and went there to disperse. According to the spokesperson of the secret police, it says his men were then overpowered. 2 were killed. He called for mobilization from other sister security agencies Then they marched to the gathering, and of course, were able to rescue one personnel, from that gathering. But I am totally against the use of violence in curbing protest gatherings, or whatever they may be. But IPOB remains outlawed.
Well, a number of issues here. Do citizens have the right to assemble? Yes. Do citizens of Nigeria have the right to express themselves? Yes, under the Constitution. Are citizens entitled to the dignity of the human person? Yes, under the Constitution. So on the surface of it, you can say that the rights of these persons have been violated. The right to assemble, the right to express themselves. Now, the only caveat is that the IPOB, having been declared a terrorist organization by the Nigerian government, backed up by the ruling of the court in 2017, which remains the position of the law. If you gather under the banner of IPOB, the Indigenous Peoples Organization of Biafra, then of course the security agencies would naturally assume that these are terrorists who are gathering. But Emma Powerful, who issued a statement on behalf of IPOB, said that they were just holding a meeting, they were not carrying arms, they were not engaging in any violent activity, they were not engaged in any act of provocation, and therefore the attack on them by the security agencies was completely unwarranted, because whatever may be the label of IPOB, they remain citizens of Nigeria, and they have rights under the Constitution. In terms of the operation of the security agencies, well, there's something that is called the reasonable force, even if you want to apply force to disperse a gathering. Clearly, the level of force that was used in this instance was unreasonable. What we have seen here is a case of high-handedness. But this DSS insists that it was the IPOB members that first attacked their officials. After they attacked their officials and they were overwhelmed, they had to call the police. The police commissioner in the state insists that they went in there to assist the DSS. Now, when a combined team of the DSS and the police could not, calm down this situation, they had to call in the military. So if that narrative is correct, then who is telling the truth?
Exactly.
Could it be IPOB is, being economical with the facts? Could it be that the security agencies are making a case for themselves? But beyond all of this is the larger politics about self-determination. IPOB is a separatist group that wants to create a state of Biafra. Now, the Nigerian state, as I pointed out to Dr. Naji, has a responsibility under Section 2 of the Constitution that nobody divides Nigeria, because Section 2 of the Constitution says Nigeria is indivisible and indissoluble. And that Constitution, in other parts, defines what constitutes that Nigeria.
Yeah.
So if you say you want to take out a portion of Nigeria, either you are Boko Haram or you are IPOB, the Nigerian state will not even listen to the argument, because their job of the security agencies is to protect the integrity, territorial integrity and sovereignty of Nigeria. But in doing that, with regard to IPOB or MASOB before it, there is the danger of also violating the rights of the people, which is their right to self-determination. The United Nations, as far back as 1918, as far back as 1918, before the United Nations emerged after the Second World War, Woodrow Wilson had said that self-determination is not a mere catchphrase. It is an imperative basis for action. In other words, people are free to choose their own sovereignty and to determine their international status without interference. So that's why you see IPOB continues to insist that, look, self-determination is not a crime. But all of that is out there. It will be resolved. It's part of the Nigerian national question. But what we must condemn, the arguments about the casualty numbers, figures, is there. IPOB is saying 21 of their members were killed, 47 were injured. The DSS is saying 2 of their officers were killed, and that it was only 5 IPOB members that were killed. So the figures is not even should not be the issue. What should be the issue is that the waste of lives could have been avoided.
Absolutely.
And we hope that there will be proper investigation to determine, whether or not excessive force had been used and what, in fact, led to this excessive use of force that we seem to have witnessed.
Right. Rufai, there are two sides of the story here. One is that the police said the IPOB attacked them, and IPOB is saying that they were unarmed. I mean, when you look at the videos on social media and these people lying lifeless on the floor, most of them look like they were unarmed. Most of the IPOB members look like they were unarmed. What is your take on that story?
I mean, definitely in the state of impasse, you have the truth and you also have propaganda across board. But for me, I want to speak to national unity. If you check around the world, there's always propaganda. So if you say you want to see who to believe, it's going to be a tall order. But most importantly, I want to speak towards national unity because we know how this started in this country. We know how this has culminated into a civil war. And we fought that war. No victor, no victory, like Yakubu did say. But this is the time to sue for peace in this country. And most importantly, that's what I want to speak to. I don't want to go back to the details, because if you want me to go back, I can talk about Operation Python Dance, many other things like that. But I just want to call both parties, even IPOB, you know, to come on the table of peace. Your agitations are right, yes, but come on the table of peace. We don't want violence. Nigeria is indissoluble. It's one entity, and that's the way it will remain. It should remain under God. Really.
Very good.
We all can do it together as a big nation if we all come and we're truthful to one another. I know a lot has passed under the water in this country. I know there's a lot of sentiment across board. There's a lot of mistrust across board. But I believe Nigeria can be one big, peaceful, happy nation. I'm not party to those that say, oh, it's a creation of accidents, it's a creation of Lugard and the likes. I believe we're brought together for one reason. And I know we'll have skirmishes like that on the path to nationhood, but I know that definitely this nation can be strong. You know, I've had arguments with a lot of people, and they've told me, you know, Nigeria is just like Yugoslavia. That's why Josip Broz Tito did say, I am the only true Yugoslavian. And when he died, truly, Yugoslavian dissolved. But that's not the case with Nigeria. I know we can be a viable, strong nation when we come together. The Igbos are as important as the Hausas, as the Yorubas, and all the other 500 tribes in this country. So I am just calling for peace this morning. Let us stop this. Let us respect the rights of the people. There was no point using life rounds there. We could have, shut this down and just ensure that peace reigned in all of this. If it was the DSS that claimed they came in first. But all I'm just calling for across board this morning is let peace reign in the land.
Very well said, Rufai. Let's take another story. Nigeria's First Lady Aisha Buhari over the weekend condemned medical tourism by top government officials, including her husband, President Muhammadu Buhari. The First Lady made the comments shortly after returning from a trip to the United Arab Emirates for alleged medical treatment. In a statement, the First Lady called on the healthcare providers to take advantage of the federal government's initiative through the Central Bank of Nigeria's guidelines for the operation of 100 billion naira credit support for the healthcare sector. Ms. Buhari went on to say that medical tourism was a waste of Nigeria's resources and against the development of the healthcare sector. Some Nigerians on Twitter reacting to her statement were outraged, insisting that the First family was in fact one of the biggest promoters of medical tourism. Let's take some tweets. One user, Borma Bakati, wrote, "Your husband spent billions on the Villa Clinic, yet it couldn't treat neck pain. You flew to the UAE during lockdown on a presidential plane and spent our money. As you land, you call for better hospitals. Don't you know who the president is? Don't you have access to him?" Another user, Mush, wrote, "This is so sad. Now she left Nigeria amidst the international travel restrictions with Nigerian Jet for medical tourism paid with taxpayers' money and came back to say Nigerians should fix our healthcare sector. I feel very insulted." A lot of Nigerians are outraged, and rightfully so, because, back in 2015 through 2017, the president was away for medical treatment for a number of days. And a lot of people are talking about the fact that the First family or even the presidential Villa Hospital is not well equipped. If you also remember, in 2017, Aisha Buhari also raised alarm about this, presidential Villa Healthcare Center not being well equipped. I don't think this is the first time the First Lady has raised alarm about the healthcare sector in Nigeria. I do believe that her comments are valid. She's been known as this vocal, outspoken First Lady who challenges everything. I mean, and I think that that's really what she's talking about here.
Well, can I say the First Lady is at it again, because very typical of the wife of the president that we've seen in recent times. You know, she stirs the honest net, and you know, this would generate a lot of controversies, reactions. But you know, it's very correct for Nigerians to feel a slap in the face that this is coming from the wife of the president, who, like his many African counterparts, you know, have this appetite for medical tourism. You know, they are listed as those who lack faith in their medical sector in their country, and they jet out for the slightest medical treatment, and leaving their own medical sector to, you know, just be degraded. Almost 2 decades ago, at the nation's capital in Abuja, African heads of the state came together to what was known as the Abuja Declaration to pledge at least 15% of their national budget to health. In a country like Nigeria, we have seen since that declaration only between 4 to 6% of the national budget dedicated to health. Now, there are many consequences to this, not just only on the patients, but of course on brain drain, because we then produce doctors for other countries, and then medical tourism, which the president is guilty of. It's not only enough to advocate that, you know, top government officials, we need to see action. She's the wife of the president. Perhaps maybe she can do more. The only way to reverse medical tourism is to build the health sector in the country.
Which is what she's talking about.
And, you know, a lot of people also thought that with the occasion of COVID-19, leaders will learn, because they have been stranded with these medical facilities they refuse to develop. But not so much have been seen in that direction, which is sad.
Well, I think we should separate the message from the messenger. First, let me start with the messenger. And that's why I think that the outrage that you are talking about is completely misplaced. The Nigerian state has a responsibility to look after not just the president, but also to look after the first family, because you cannot separate the president of Nigeria from his family. So if Mrs. Buhari traveled to the UAE for medical reasons in presidential jet, this complaint about, oh, it is our money, is entirely beside the point, because even when you work in a company, your family and yourself, in some companies, they will say, oh, the CEO and 4 members of his family are entitled to medical care to this tune and all that. And, you know, with the state also, with the Nigerian state at least, that's the way it is. And she traveled in presidential jet, but with our money. You know, it's, the security of the first family is very important. States do not joke with that. So that argument does not stand. Secondly, with regard to the messenger, Mrs. Buhari has developed, established a reputation for her outspokenness, for her independence of thought. And there are many Nigerians who commend her, who admire her for that. This is not the first time she will protest. The 2017 case that you referred to, she was even criticizing the fact that her husband had to be traveling abroad for medical care. She, at that time, in 2017, was asked to travel abroad for medical care. And she refused. She said she would rather go to the Aso Rock clinic. When she got there, and she discovered that they had issues with X-ray machine. Not one X-ray machine functioning in the clinic attached to the presidential villa. So she raised an alarm and, you know, attacked the chief medical director, Dr. Muni, who is a cardiologist, you know, and complained. Then the daughter, Zara, also went after Jalal Arabi, who was then the permanent secretary of the presidential villa. So now she's not doing something unusual. She's just being consistent and saying medical tourism is a drain on the economy. It runs into billions per annum. And in the light of COVID-19, the fact that we have a problem with our health infrastructure has been further exposed. Now, people say, why did she travel at a time when there is a lockdown and international flights have no reason? I think I've made a point, and we can fact check this, that when Hadi Sirika was talking about the closure of the airports, of the airspace, he made the point that look for
There were exemptions.
emergencies, including medical treatment. Once you can provide the proof, the Office of the Minister of Aviation will give approval. So it's not as if there were no exemptions. And we can fact check that. People can go and check it. So I think we should focus on the message. But the issue, of course, is that what would the leadership do about the message? And that's why the people who were saying that, oh, since you are the First Lady, make this information available to your husband. Now, those ones, in my view, may have a point. She should make it part of the conversation in the other room so that proper attention can be paid to it. Because you recall that when she protested in 2017, the House of Reps said they were going to set up a committee to look into the situation at the Aso Rock Villa. Till today, nobody knows the outcome of that inquiry. And that's why she's justified to come forward a second time and lend her voice. Then she should take out the matter in the other room.
But she has said that there was no pillow in the other room, so there's no room for pillow talk.
In fact, when she raised the alarm...
You've been to that other room.
She said.
No, she said now, Dr. Bati, that's what...
have you confirmed it?
You know, in fact, when she raised the alarm in 2017, she said, imagine if the president of Nigeria would have to go out of the country for medical treatment. What are ordinary Nigerians, what are they going through?
It was so horrible, she said there was no even painkiller
she had
in the health facility.
Dr. Rufai, please, a quick comment from you.
Wow, and I have a very long comment about this one.
Please, quick one, so we can take our next
So two things. There's nothing wrong with medical tourism. I think we get this conversation very skewed. There are some countries that are specialized in some procedures more than others. And even people from America go to places like Cuba to seek health care on some procedures. So there's nothing wrong with it. But what we're talking about is the basics. What are the basics? If your country can execute the basics, then there's a big problem. That's what I see with it. So you ask the question, how do we fix it? We've got three models. The first model is, the government, how the government can come in. Many governments have done this. We talk about the NHS today in the UK, but the NHS didn't start until after 1948, after the war, when, what's his name now? I forget his name. He wrote a book about 5 giants in the UK and said, if we don't take care of people that fought in the war for the UK, then how will we compensate them? So they started the NHS in 48. And there's also another model, which is the private sector-driven model, which largely India and America use it, but India also has the support of the government. So America's healthcare system is worth over $3 trillion US dollars today. And when you juxtapose with the American, size of the economy, about 17 trillion, you see that the healthcare has been able to stand on its own, which has run on a model of health insurance and the likes. So which one do we choose that is better for us? I believe we have done it before, we can do it again. Formerly in the 60s, the Saudi royal family used to come get their health care from UCH in Ibadan. They had one of the best cardiologists in the world. What changed as regards the model? President Olusegun Obasanjo just started in the early 2000s to bring about a national health insurance scheme. What's the offshoot of that? A lot of corruption, and that's why it's not growing. If that money is piped into getting equipment and the likes, or having health trusts, it would be a lot better. So we have these three different models. The Dubai that probably the wife of the president went to, the first lady went to, the Dubai government started something called the Dubai Health City, that has made it, they're trying to make Dubai a hub for healthcare. So, number one, I think is the willingness of leadership to be able to fix it. And most importantly, to be able to create an enabling environment for the private sector. 3, it's not rocket science. In the next 10, 20 years, if we put everything in place, we can be a hub for medical tourism. Just like Ghana has become a hub. They fly Nigerians to Kolebu, teaching hospital in Ghana for some procedures, for some burns. It's that bad. Let's invest back home.
Very well said.
Unfortunately, we've tried all these models in Nigeria. We have the National Health Insurance Scheme, which has not worked. We had the HMO program.
What is the
when private sector participators were brought into the mainstream, it did not work. We created centers of excellence.
It's ridiculous.
We chose certain teaching hospitals and called them teaching hospitals. It has not worked. State governments have built hospitals. They will build the structure, leave it there. Empty. They will not equip it. It will be empty. So leadership is the problem. The political will is the problem. But COVID-19 is teaching us a number of lessons.
I hope so. Let's take another story. Nasser El-Rufai will never be president of Nigeria was trending on social media over the weekend after reports surfaced that the Kaduna state government arraigned the bishop of Zaria Diocese Anglican Communion, Abiodun Ogunyemi, for allegedly berating the governor of the state. In November last year, there were moves to demolish some churches in Sambogari Market, Kaduna, and the bishop allegedly faulted the governor for the attempted demolition. The bishop said demolition of property belonging to the church in Kaduna was a direct assault on churches in Nigeria as a whole, adding, in quote, the governor should know that he will never be president of Nigeria. I speak prophetically as a servant of the living God. The bishop has reportedly been arraigned on charges bordering on criminal defamation, injurious falsehood, and criminal intimidation. He has pled not guilty to the charges and was granted bail by the court. Dr. Bati, a quick comment from you. What is the meaning of all of this? I mean, how does this happen?
Well, you know, most commentators will be concerned about the reign of intolerance that they seem to have observed, not just in Kaduna State, but also in some other states of the Federation. And Kaduna State is particularly notorious, and that's partly the reason why many lawyers are, you know, kicking against the invitation of Governor El-Rufai to the annual General Conference of the NBA. If you read the letter signed by Chidi Odinkalu and another, they cited many cases of the governor being intolerant, except that in this particular case, in September 2019, the Kaduna State Urban Development Agency said they were going to demolish about 3,000 houses, about 40 churches, and 16 schools that violated urban development regulations. But at the end of the day, there was a church, the George Anglican Church, 110 years old church, which the governor, the church appealed to the governor, and the governor rescued that particular church, the oldest church in the whole of Kaduna State. But the main concern is about intolerance and the violation of people's rights to talk. But the DPP for Kaduna State says this will be resolved. So hopefully they will do so before the next hearing on October 21, 2020.
Thank you, Dr. Bati. Thank you, Adesima. Thank you, Rufai.
Well, thank you, Oji. We'll see you tomorrow morning, and that's all of us strengthening.